Real life,
real faith, real grace.
Hey y'all, welcome back. We are on episode 3 of Let's Get Biblical. They've been so good.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, like, Jesus has been here with us in this room. I can feel him. It's been, you had me in tears last time. Like, and we're just getting started.
I know. Like, it's been so good.
We're just getting started. Yeah. Like, we haven't even gotten into it yet when you really think about it.
I know,
This is
really.
just 3.
Yeah.
Why did I do it like this?
So good. Apparently you're like gangster in another life or something. Like, I don't know. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm super excited because last episode, if you missed it, I shared my testimony. Literally, we were all in tears.
All of us.
Like, I was trying to keep it together so I could still talk, but God is so good. Like, you have to go back and watch that. But today, I'm super stoked because Jess is going to be sharing her story. And I love testimonies. I will never, ever get tired of hearing someone's testimony. Like, the word literally says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So, you sharing today is so powerful, and there's going to be someone who connects with it that just, finds themselves in your story, and they're going to get that hope from it.
It's funny. You say it about other people's, but then when it's yours, you're like, I hope someone likes this, or I hope someone gets something out of this. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I feel like it's the truth. It's like for the longest time, I didn't want to ever talk about it. It took me being on a TV show for me to really lean into actually speaking out about the things that I'd gone through. And it's kind of crazy, but
I'm excited for it.
Well, we'll jump into it. My story has been a long time coming. It's really been I grew up the girl that probably should have had the relationship with Jesus and God and all of that, and growing up in the church and going to a Catholic church. I'm very Italian. At those Italian Latina roots, it's very common to grow up Roman Catholic. And I grew up going to the Catholic Church, doing all the right things that you're supposed to do, but I really was the epitome of that girl that did it because I was supposed to, and I had nothing that really, if you saw me, you wouldn't look at me and say, oh, that girl loves Jesus, or you wouldn't say, I even think she remotely could be a Christian, because I was just so far from that and could really care less. Honestly, I just was doing my service to go to church because that's what my parents wanted. Right. I think one of the biggest reasons for that was I grew up in a very, very dark home of abuse with my dad. Yeah. My dad was physically abusive, mentally abusive. It was to the point where I had since I can remember, I have no idea when it even started, because it was just at the youngest part you could imagine in your life, having any sort of cognizant memory of anything.
And it's crazy because you've told me this, and I look at you and how open and loving, and you're one of the biggest encouraging. I was about to make up a word again.
No, go for it, please. We need it for our dictionary.
I was going to mix encouraging and encouragement, so let's not do that one. But you're one of the most encouraging people, in my life, and so I would I never knew that you this was your history and this was your past.
Thank you. It's funny because I don't see myself like that. Yeah. I think I just see myself trying to do everything I can be to be the furthest away from how my father was. Yeah. And he made me feel so small. It was on a physical level. I think even sometimes it was really the mental level that actually had the longest hold on me, because we're talking very foundational times in your life, when you're growing, to the point where I was still, so young where my brain was still growing, and to go through that and to have it implemented that you're a POS. And at that age, I would spill milk and it would be I murdered someone. it was like there was no correlation,
Yeah.
to like proper correlation to like a reaction from him, right? It was all the same.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter what I did. I always functioned like I was walking on eggshells. So living in a lot of fear to either be, you know, like mutually physically, like, you know, abused, or to, you know, be told that I was gonna be nothing. I mean, everything that I did, it was just wrong, you know?
Yeah.
So when you start like living like that.
Now, did you have other siblings?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I have
Was
two
it
sisters.
like that for everyone, or was it just like you?
It was definitely the worst for me and my mom. For whatever reason, my youngest sister didn't really experience a lot of that. I have no idea why. I think it also was to the point too, like he had harnessed some anger even more towards me, because like for me, it was like the jig was up with him. Like I was immediately, and I think this is probably also where my natural like fiery boldness comes from, is because I got to an age probably when I was around 7 or 8, and I could really like especially start like seeing like what was going on with my mom as well. And these are things that like got progressively worse over time.
Yeah.
You know, so like as that started happening, I started getting more defensive, and I've always been the person that's like, you can mess with me, but don't mess with my people.
Yeah.
And I think that's why. And, you know, I literally got to a point where I would see what was happening with my mom, and he'd be doing whatever he was doing, you know, to her. And I would literally, I mean, at like a young age, start talking, like cursing him out. Like I'd be like, you know, I would literally be like, I mean, I grew up very rough for that reason of like, I felt like I had to be like a protector. And, you know, my mom many times would have to be like, no, you know, like, you need to not be here. You need to like go upstairs or whatever. And she worked really hard. And I think one of the reasons this story was so hard for the longest time to tell too is because I never wanted to put my mom in a bad light.
Yeah.
My mom is like the biggest angel to ever walk this earth.
Yeah.
But she really was put into a position where she was a young mom who had me basically, you know, out of wedlock, and really got into a relationship pretty kind of fast with a man.
Yeah.
And, you know, eventually just like things happened to where, you know, another kid was born, and it got harder for her to be able to get out of that situation. And it just became this thing where she was getting further and further trapped in that.
Yeah.
And, you know, she worked really hard to kind of get out of that like pregnant and stuck situation. You know what I mean? So I think that there was a lot of things from that growing up. It's crazy what I actually went through in those moments, but quite honestly, it was for me, and I'm saying this like in the best way that I can, but it was like the actual mental portion is what ended up having the biggest toll in my life, because I took it so far with me that, I mean, like it was how I felt about myself. It was how I viewed men for the longest time. I mean, for the longest time, I literally was like, all men are disgusting and evil, and they all treat women this way. There's no such thing as a good man. Like that's literally how I thought. And I mean, of course, that's what the devil wants. He doesn't want healthy families, you know, and you realize that later on. I mean, these are all things looking back, I now know. But he doesn't want healthy families. He doesn't want, you know, love and Christ to be the center of that relationship. He doesn't want, you know, children that have the opportunity to grow up in homes with a healthy relationship, you know, and he definitely took a number on me getting in really, really young.
He was afraid of you because you're powerful.
Well, thank you. But he took a number on me because I think the biggest thing was, though, is that I now had that view, like that was the view of not only just men, but a father figure.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most important ways, like that you can view God and like have that really deep relationship with God. And I refused to have it. All I ever saw was this disgusting, mean man who buttoned it up really well for church.
Wow.
And really, you know, I mean, we were that family that he was literally just beating my mom or doing that to me. And then we'd be on church on Sunday. We'd be fighting in the car. We'd be screaming. And then he'd be like, shut up. And we'd get in there and we'd all have to just look like the perfect happy family.
Crazy.
Nobody knew what was going on behind closed doors. I can't even tell you how many people, when stuff started finally coming out about my dad, didn't even know what was happening, like in the family. It put a bad taste in my mouth, you know, in the community sometimes too, because I feel like there aren't enough places where people can feel like truly safe. Like my mom for a long time obviously felt like I have to be the woman that I have to keep it together.
Yeah.
And she not comfortable enough to run to like any of those people. Cause like to me, that community, if you know, of people, if you see someone going through that, the Jesus thing would be to help the best that you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we didn't have that. And we were really for a long time stuck in a really crappy situation, you know, of just, and this goes into like identity, but like a crappy situation of like, really establishing for a long time in myself, in my heart, like who my identity was, who I am as a person, who other people are, and what roles they play in my life, you know?
Well, I just want to like point out, because a lot of people maybe not have experienced to that extent, but they have that thing where it's like, we pretended to be this perfect family. We were still going to church, but this is what was going on behind the scenes. And a lot of those people never find Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Like they never go back to church.
Well, I think it's because it's so ingrained that that's what church is.
Yeah.
You know, and for a long time, that's what church was. I associated church with hypocrisy.
Right.
You know, fake people. I mean, and not every church is like that.
Right.
You know, I think, and we've talked on this, and I think this is one of the bases, is like, we don't think necessarily right now that there's enough of the churches that are being bold and being true, but there's some great ones out there. Yeah. But when that's what at a young age your foundational experience with churches is, oh, I'm just playing my role in front of a group of people, you know, that I need to impress for that moment, that don't actually really care, and then we all just go home and we sin it up. You know what I mean? Like,
so crazy. It's like, why are we even here?
Yeah, it's true.
Why are we even here?
It's true.
But the fact that you are here on a biblical podcast, you love Jesus, you being a Jesus freak, like, just says so much about your story.
Yeah, so. I never would have thought this would be me. Let's put it that way, because I was the girl that was like, you know, you would look at me and be like, yeah, there is no way that girl is going to step in. And it got progressively worse. So, you know, I was the girl. I hate saying this, but I was the girl with the daddy issues, you know, and I literally went into this life of just honestly being so repulsed with that experience and having letdown after letdown with churches. And there's other things that had happened in other experiences with my sister, and that's really her testimonies to tell too. Yeah. But things where you would expect the church to embrace you in a certain way or be there for you in a certain way, and that community was a lot of talk and no action. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Now, were you still going to Catholic churches at this time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to do a whole episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we should.
Catholic
we really
Church.
Need to go in on the Catholicism.
Catholicism, yeah.
There we go.
It doesn't matter. We say what we want around here.
Yeah, we certainly want. We have a whole dictionary coming out eventually, too. Just wait. So honestly, though, I and it actually, like, grosses me out saying it now, but I went through a period of my life where I was legitimately, it's so weird saying this and where I am now, but I was repulsed by God. Repulsed.
Yeah.
Steve actually met me in that phase because I was still, Steve and I will be coming together on 7 years, and he met me kind of.
We're almost, like, Austin and I are 8 years.
Really?
Well, our anniversary's in, like, 2 days.
That's a whole other episode itself, because I literally was, like, talking to you, and I'm like, I'm really getting this conviction. Like, I'm really being like, I need to marry this man. Like, I'm doing something very bad.
That's another episode. Like,
it really all hit me.
We gotta talk about that.
But that's what happens. Like, it's not about, like, I think so many people look at people that, like, love Jesus and they talk about it and they're not seeing, like, they don't know the story. They don't know where you came from. They don't know the growth. And that is the point. It's, you have that Holy Spirit in you at that point, every day it's molding you to become better and better and better. And everybody started at a different point, you know? So you have people that literally look at me sometimes and they're like, well, if you're a Christian, why are you not married? And I'm like, you know what? Like, you're right.
You just had that revelation.
Yeah.
Recently,
I was like, actually, no, like you're legit right.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm learning, like I'm growing. Right. And the point is that like, I am realizing these things and I am willing to make those changes and grow when I find out. And that is the point, right?
Yeah. And I just want to say really quick, that's something I admire about you so much, because Jess is one of those people where she's like, is this wrong? And as soon as she like finds out, she's like, oh no, like I can't do that. Like she's so hungry and she loves Jesus so much that like, even though like you're newer on your journey, you're so willing to just drop everything to be in obedience to Jesus. Yeah. And like me, I'm like on my journey, like trying to still serve Jesus, but rebelling against him, like knowing things were wrong, you know? Yeah. So I love that about you.
Hungry is a great word. And you said that, I'm like, I'm starving. Like
I am actually really hungry.
I'm actually starting. I think my stomach starts growling in here too. It's actually my stomach, not my hunger for Jesus. Yeah. But I do have that. It's both. It's a little bit of both. But yeah, so at one point I was in a phase in my life, you know, my mom, we finally really got out of a situation where we were legally able to stop seeing my dad when I was 13. And it was like, truthfully, in a way, one of the best days of my life, but also like one of the worst, because I literally it was crazy. I even remember like having this thought pass into my head, and it was like you don't have a daddy, like just be buck wild. And like I went buck wild, like through my teenage years, it was so bad that like my sister and I mean, this is like, again, this is part of my testimony. So we're trying to like, we've grown from this point, but like I was literally like slut shamed for my own sister, because which is like, it was the truth. Like looking back.
What did you say?
Slut shamed. Yeah. I walked out at the time I was working
I get what you're saying now.
At the time I was working, and these are my liberal sisters, by the way. So looking back, it's hilarious, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I must have been bad if like my two like wild and crazy liberal sisters were looking at me and being like, you're disgusting.
Oh my gosh.
Like I was the girl that was completely selling my body for money, like sex. I wasn't a prostitute. I worked. Never got there. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Seriously, I never got there. Yeah, but I was like.
Thank you so much for tuning in to part 1 of this episode of the Let's Get Biblical podcast. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when part 2 to this episode drops Monday. Part 3 will be released and dropped on Tuesday. If you're watching a little bit later and those videos are already available, be sure to check the description below. If you are interested in listening to the full episode, be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify and Apple, where you can listen in to the full episode. We pray that you were blessed, and we'll see you on the next one.